A false report of an active shooter on campus sends a shock through the USC community.
The Las Vegas shooting is the worst massacre in U.S. history. We'll hear from LA residents who were there when it happened.
And turmoil hit home today. We'll talk with a spiritual leader about how to cope with chaos on campus and beyond. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
We didn't hear anything. We were just going off of what she said, and we had no idea if she had gotten a text from DPS, or because, in general, when you're in a classroom setting, you look to your professor for guidance, especially in an emergency situation.
Students say their professor was in tears before she told them to report gunshots on campus.
And a gunman in Las Vegas killed 59 people and injured more than 500 others in the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Investigators are still trying to figure out why the 64-year-old man opened fire from his Las Vegas hotel room. I'm Sophia Bosk.
And I'm Dan Toomey. The tragedy hit home here on campus when a distraught USC professor told students she knew 4 people at the scene of the Vegas shooting. Our Rebecca Patterson has more on who that professor is. But first, Annenberg Media's Brittany Hope is live at Fertitta Hall with more on why the professor was taken into custody.
That's right, Dan. I'm here at Fertitta Hall. Where everything seems calm now. You can see students are walking in and out of the building, coming to and from class. But earlier, students and faculty were fearing for their lives. At 12:12, DPS received a call saying that there was an alleged active shooter on campus from a student, and just 2 minutes later, at 12:14, there were first responders on the scene. Then later at 12:23, students received an alert from Trojan Alert saying to shelter in place and that there was a danger to the USC community. Now, word of this active shooter began with professor and USC alum Amy Granados. Students say she was visibly upset this morning walking into class, telling students that there was an active shooter on campus and telling them to call DPS. Now, DPS and LAPD have both told us that there is confirmed that there was no shooter on campus and that it was just a false alarm. Students are safe and classes have began again. Our Addison Stafford has more on today's terrifying events.
Around 12:30 p.m., DPS issued an alert to all USC students to take shelter after reports of gunshots in Fertitta Hall. It all started in Fertitta 328, where students say their professor told them there was an active shooter on campus.
Our teacher was crying, and kind of out of nowhere, she told everyone to get to the corner of the room and to stack all the chairs and desks by the door, and for somebody in the class to call DPS.
Rawlings said that Professor Amy Granados got on the phone with DPS and told them she heard gunshots.
I never heard any shots, so I wasn't all that worried, but a lot of people in class were freaking out.
Rawlings said that Granados claimed to have had friends at the scene of last night's mass shooting in Las Vegas, and she was visibly shaken. Students were too.
I called my dad, and I was close to crying.
At one point, Rawlings says Granados crawled under the barricade of tables at the door and started screaming for help in the hallway. About 20 minutes later, LAPD officers escorted the students in 328 outside. Meanwhile, other students in Fertitta panicked.
People were literally falling over each other and trampling and just booking it out the door. It was crazy.
All of us just kind of froze. We didn't know what to do. People were panicking, texting their parents.
DPS Assistant Chief David Carlisle says it was important for students to shelter in place.
Shut the door, turn off the lights, silence your cell phone, secure the door if you can, pile up furniture, and as a last resort, if there were a shooter, then you fight for your life.
Classes were postponed during the shelter-in-place, and after a search, DPS and LAPD determined there was no active shooter and no shots fired. LAPD took Granados into custody. DPS says she was visibly distressed. Reporting for Annenberg Media, I'm Addie Stafford.
I was able to speak with one student who said that she and her classmates were hiding in a closet in Fertitta for over 40 minutes, instructed so by the SWAT team. And I spoke to another student whose class was evacuated by another SWAT team and was forced to literally run for their lives all the way to Flower Street. We were also able to speak to students who were in the classroom with Professor Granados when this whole incident began. They said she came to class upset and was speaking about last night's incidents in Las Vegas. It is not confirmed if she has friends or family involved involved in last night's shootings. She then told students that there was an alleged active shooter on campus, telling them to call DPS and to barricade the classroom. Now, when police entered the classroom, students say she looked at the police, started crying, and said, "Don't shoot." We were able to get these students on camera and see what they had to say.
Her personality seemed very different of just like what the normal environment we've been having in that class. Like this is like now week 7, so I feel like even though it is only a once-week class, like we all have at least a general idea of like her style, and it was definitely something very out of the ordinary. She did go like running out the room like help, and then when the first police officer came in, she said, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." And so I think it was something had happened because of all the Vegas stuff, and we weren't sure. Like all we had to rely on was what she was telling us. So
the teacher had done this weird stunt on the first day of class where she had come in, acted really unprepared, unprofessional. She was dressed poorly. She left the room, comes back like 2 minutes later, like in like professional attire, like completely ready for class, and she's like makes a point about first impressions and stuff like that. But this whole time we were like, is this another one of her weird stunts? So nobody was really taking it completely seriously. That's why everyone was so confused the whole time.
I was able to speak with Assistant GPS Chief David Carlisle, who said that the university was ironically already planning to do a drill much like today's in December, and he says that the school will still be doing that same drill. He also said that students and faculty acted exactly as they were supposed to, bolting the doors with their belts, hiding in closets, turning the sound off on their phone, and complying with DPS orders. For now, we're just happy that everyone here is safe and that today's events didn't turn into a tragedy. Live from Fertitta Hall with Annenberg Media, I'm Brittany Hope. Back to you.
Thank you for the update, Brittany. Amy Granados has been a part of the USC community for more than a dozen years. Rebecca Patterson has found more information on the professor. She's live in our newsroom with more. Rebecca?
Thanks, Dan. Amy Granados has been an adjunct professor at the USC Marshall School of Business for nearly 2 years, but she's been part of the USC community for much longer. She graduated from USC in 2005 with a BA in Communications and Psychology. She worked as a research assistant at Annenberg, specializing in leadership roles for women in the film industry. Granados received her master's in communication from USC in 2010. She's now an adjunct professor of management and communication at Marshall.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed and survived Subarctic. You are obviously in the Experiential Learning Center this week.
Granados posted a number of teaching videos on her YouTube channel. This video, posted last year, shows her talking to students in a business administration class. LAPD tells us that Granados is in custody and being questioned, but she's not under arrest. They will not know what charges, if any, she may face until the investigation is completed. Sophia, back to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And DPS says a combined effort with LAPD allowed campus security to quickly confirm that there was no active shooter on campus. DPS says today's incident should serve as a reminder for students to sign up for Trojan Alert, USC's emergency notification system. You can sign up for Trojan Alert at dps.usc.edu.
At least 59 people are dead and more than 520 injured in Las Vegas after a gunman opened fire during a country music festival late last night. Annenberg Media's Tommy Brooksbank has the latest on the massacre.
Tonight, investigators are searching for a motive after the worst mass shooting in U.S. history.
This is an individual who was described as a lone wolf. I don't know how it could have been prevented.
Thousands of concertgoers ran for cover late Sunday night when a gunman fired thousands of rounds of ammunition from his Las Vegas Strip hotel room.
It would go in increments for about 10 seconds straight. I don't know if he was unloading a full magazine or what.
It seemed like automatic gunfire. We heard bam, 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 bam. So we got down and took cover.
Retired accountant Stephen Paddock was the lone gunman. Police found 19 weapons and hundreds of rounds of ammunition in his Mandalay Bay hotel room. The 64-year-old retiree used a combination of handguns and rifles to rain bullets down on the country music fans.
I mean, he's never even drawn his gun. I mean, it makes no sense. He bought the machine guns and he did this. I mean, it was him who did this.
Police also found several pounds of explosive material in Paddock's car. So far, investigators believe the firearms were bought legally. Nevada has some of the least restrictive gun laws in the country. Firearm owners are not required to have licenses or register their weapons with the state, and there's no limit to the number of firearms a person can own.
There's a lot to learn from all this. It was a cowardly, despicable act that I'm very angry about. There's not much we can do, but we can learn.
Governor Sandoval also signed a public health disaster declaration that temporarily allows doctors and nurses from other states to help in emergency response. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tommy Brooksbank.
Witnesses at yesterday's concert described fleeing for safety under a hail of gunfire. Thousands took cover not knowing where the shots were coming from.
The guys I was with were firefighters, and they immediately knew what was going on. I didn't know where the shooter was, so I thought he was running around. I thought he was going to turn the corner and I was going to be gone. There were people dodging traffic. There were people running. There were people who were hurt and couldn't run. You could see people falling. Like, I honestly thought I was going to get shot in the back, like, as I was running. Everyone was trying to call everyone, so the phone lines weren't working very well, especially us running down the street. It was like, it just kept going straight to voicemails for all of us.
I was by one of those, so I was kind of shielded from the gunfire. And then once it started going off, like, I thought it was like firecrackers or somebody was playing a prank, you know? It was like a dancing thing. So I shot across that, and then I was huddled in like a back room with a bunch of other people again. Everybody, you know, on the floor, huddled, you know, trying to stay out of it. The bus was getting really full. People were hiding under the chairs, and people were, you know, there's people that have been shot on the bus. There were bloody people everywhere. So I was trying to tell people, keep it down so the bus driver can drive, so it's not so chaotic in here.
In an email to the USC community, Provost Michael Quick said, "We are deeply saddened by the horrific events in Las Vegas. The images from the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history are difficult to view, and it's even more difficult to imagine the pain and anguish being experienced by the families and loved ones of the victims. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them."
All right, so last night's shooting prompted a wave of reactions on social media. People at the concert used sites such as Twitter and Facebook to update their safety status. The incident also ignited debate online over gun safety laws and the identity of the shooter himself. Matthew Levesque is an associate professor of public relations here at USC. He's been tracking the social media response so far. So what have we seen thus far?
So far we're seeing a tremendous amount of buzz and conversation on it, especially in Twitter. What we have up right now is a map, and as you can see, it's concentrated heavily within the United States, which makes sense, but it's also something that's being discussed throughout the world. If we dive deeper into it, we can see that since the event yesterday, a little after 10 o'clock, we already have almost 2.4 million tweets that have been posted on it, which is a pretty tremendous volume, and it doesn't appear to be letting up. If we dive into the context of those tweets using our software and its algorithm, those that have an emotion on it, we are seeing sadness as 72% of the emotion, fear at 15%, and disgust at 8%. So very, very strong emotions are coming through from those tweets. If we go to and look at some more data within it, we see the top retweet is from David Letterman, which is about the shooter, not a lone wolf, not mentally ill, not a terrorist, and white privilege. Few other celebrities, and then it's mostly repost of the real-time video and shots from the event last night.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, an analysis of what's going on. Professor Levesque, thank you so much for being here. Social media as well as user posts are anticipated to be the primary platform for discussion surrounding Las Vegas as more information is gathered.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti expressed his sadness today about the Las Vegas massacre. He assured the community that law enforcement is prepared to protect the City of Angels.
The senseless tragedy, and why I said the cowardice, a word I don't use lightly, the cowardice of this act was to attack that most basic impulse of human living. We will continue to do everything we can to protect life in this city from these mass shootings, both in policy and in protection.
5 people from Los Angeles Fire and law enforcement were wounded in last night's shooting. 2 are with the LA County Sheriff's Department, 2 are LA County firefighters, and 1 is an LAPD officer. They are among 80 fire and police employees in Las Vegas for the music festival. Sheriff Jim McDonnell had an update today on 2 of the victims.
We had 2 of our employees shot
They were transported to local trauma centers. One is still in critical condition but stable, and the second is in better condition but still awaiting surgery for some pretty significant wounds as well. And so we've accounted for an outstanding deputy that we didn't have a location on. He has been located and is okay.
Sheriff McDonald would not release the names of the victims, but he says the Sheriff's Department is working closely with their families to get them home to Los Angeles safely.
USC Dean of Religious Life Varun Soni offers advice to students after a stressful day on campus.
And after 13 years, Los Angeles will reopen its waiting list for an affordable housing program.
And hundreds of Las Vegas residents are lining up to donate blood for the victims of last night's shooting. Learn how you too can help the Las Vegas victims in need.
The earthquakes you see in movies are one thing, but real life is a completely different animal. Just because you can't predict an earthquake doesn't mean that you can't prepare for one. In the event of a real earthquake, you should drop, cover, and hold on. Visit ready.gov/earthquake and practice what to do to keep you and your family safe in the event of a real earthquake. And you'll be seen as a hero by your family and your loved ones.
Visit ready.gov/earthquake today.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
What's good? What's up? What's happening today?
Let's do those pearly whites, man.
Yeah. The boys, check it out. Stand up, do my chairs, don't compare us.
Gosh, I'm so hungry. Do you guys want some pizza?
Ooh, cute.
Are you good to try?
I'm fine.
Hey girl, what's up? What's the name? What's good? What's up?
What's happening? How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be. Sir, go and step out of the vehicle for me.
Yes, sir. See ya, buddy. Today, Sean's got a hearing. We'll see how it goes. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
The mass shooting in Las Vegas and the false alarm on campus have left many students on edge. We talked with Dean of Religious Life Varun Soni about what students can do in the aftermath of a crisis.
Well, it's a very difficult time on campus. It's been, quite frankly, a difficult semester for students. We are a global campus, so what impacts the world impacts us. We have a lot of students from Vegas. We have staff and faculty from Vegas. We have distance learning students in Vegas. We spent a lot of today just reaching out to all of our students from Vegas, making sure they're okay, making sure they feel supported, asking them if they need accommodation, making sure they have counseling services, seeing what we can do for family members. I think right now we're just processing what happened in Vegas. I'm thinking about our own campus as well. I think right now we just need to be there for each other. We need to support each other. We need to come together as a community. You know, we're a Trojan family, and families come together in times of tragedy, and this is when the Trojan family means something. So my sense is that the greatest support that we have are each other. The greatest sense of solace we have are our friends, our community members, our peers, our mentors. And the greatest resource we have right now is the Trojan family. I think all of us just need to think about what we can do and not limit ourselves to anything because we think it might be too small. Everything is important. Every gesture is important. Every donation is important. Every act of kindness, every smile, every act of solidarity is important. So I would just encourage people to think about how they can do it in a way that makes the most sense for them.
Times like these, Soni says students should know that there are resources available to them on campus and they should take care of their mental health and well-being. In a letter to the USC community, USC Provost Michael Quick urged students to take advantage of counseling services on campus.
Wow, and the weather has been a little bit warmer. It's not quite fall yet, but...
Absolutely. No, it's definitely heating up, and it's not really giving me the fall vibes. I don't know. Lindsay, what can we expect from weather this week?
That's right, guys. Fall is
of course, technically here, but Los Angeles, perfect weather as always. Current conditions today, 72 degrees out. We're going to see this continuing throughout the week. Now moving down into Big Bear and Riverside, we're seeing it getting a little bit cooler in the mountains, but don't expect snowfall for a little while. Now moving up into San Fernando Valley, we're seeing it getting a little cooler near the coast. Might want to stop going to the beach. Taking it home closer to USC, 75 degrees tomorrow. It's going to start warming up throughout the week and into the weekend. Taking a look at the 5-day forecast, warming throughout the week. In the weekend, it might even get to 90 degrees. Maybe then you can go to the beach. Hundreds in Las Vegas waited in line for hours today to donate blood. The United Blood Service in Las Vegas doesn't open until 7 a.m., but lines were already out the door by 4 a.m. because of last night's terror attack. At donation centers around the city, lines wrapped blocks and parking lots. Many people waited over 6 hours to donate blood. Others in the city donated food, water, and blankets to the survivors. If you are interested in donating blood, visit redcrossblood.org to find the center closest to you.
Wow, I'm so glad that they are opening up those centers. I really hope that this continues past just, for Las Vegas.
Absolutely. I was going to mention in times that could so easily divide us, it's great to see people coming together and promoting unity in supporting the victims of Las Vegas.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. And as many as 20,000 people in Los Angeles will soon be able to join a waiting list for subsidized housing. This is the first time in 13 years that tenants in Los Angeles can apply to the federal housing program known as Section 8. The Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles says tenants should apply online within a 2-week period in October. Mayor Eric Garcetti says not all applicants will receive financial assistance to pay for rent, and those who do may face a long wait.
Now that my Section 8 is here, that everybody's overwhelmed. It's like unbelievable because we're just talking about, Tamara, why don't you work and, try to get a rent-to-own home because that's for people with less than perfect credit. And so, I was really going that option. And 2 weeks later, my Section 8 kicked in. And it was like manna from God. So I feel complete.
The application will be open from October 16th to the 29th. Section 8 applicants should hear back from city officials by December 1st. And we've had quite an eventful weekend with sports.
We did. USC took their big first loss of the season, looking to rebound this weekend. Thank you so much, Sophia. This week, we'll take a look at football's first loss of the season at Washington State, my picks for the MLB playoff coming up this week, and USC women's soccer notching 2 impressive wins over the weekend against Oregon State and Oregon on McAllister Field.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
French fries. Finding best potatoes.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Bowl.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
USC football comes back home for an early afternoon game against Oregon State at the Coliseum this Saturday. This home matchup seems much needed for the Trojans after a hard-fought win at Cal and a loss at Washington State this weekend. The loss in Pullman against the number 16 Cougars threw the Trojans out of the top 10 for the first time since late last season. Only 4 Pac-12 teams are ranked this week, with Washington leading at 6, Washington State moving up to 11, SC falling to 14, and Utah coming in at number 20. Washington State's key to success was limiting the Trojan passing attack. Sam Darnold had a season-low 15 completions and 164 passing yards with no throwing touchdowns. Wide receiver Deontay Burnett also felt the Cougar pressure with a season-low 6 catches and 45 receiving yards. With a tough 5-game stretch behind them, the Trojans look to dominate the Oregon State Beavers this Saturday. Women's soccer took on the 2 Pac-12 teams from the state of Oregon this weekend and conquered them both. In what was the most complete game of the Trojan season, they crushed Oregon State to a 4-0 victory. In a lopsided game, USC took 26 shots with 15 on goal and held Oregon State to 2 shots with none on goal. Junior forward and midfielder Leah Pruitt scored 2 goals, and freshman midfielder Savannah DeMello recorded 3 assists. With a come-from-behind win against Oregon on Sunday, the Trojans are confident traveling to Arizona as they take on U of A and ASU this weekend. Now, the Major League Baseball playoffs start with the American League wildcard game tomorrow, and I'm here to make my postseason picks. So far, I like the Astros and the Indians to reach the ALCS, with the Dodgers and the Cubs making the NLCS. I see a Dodgers and Astros World Series with the Astros coming out on top behind shortstop Jose Altuve. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Nick. USC Admissions says this year's freshman class is more diverse than ever before, but some campus groups say that this new report is a little misleading.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait. Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
The USC Admissions Office released its 2017 freshman enrollment report. The report shows international student enrollment on the upswing. The university classifies international students as an ethnicity. Most minority group numbers largely remain unchanged from previous years. USC's Black Alumni Association director says measuring diversity success is complicated.
Building diverse communities and really solving issues that belong with regard to social justice, you have to take in other things that paint that context. So, my answer, it's a complex answer, but it's a complex thing.
USC Dean of Admissions says the university's goal is to increase the number of underrepresented minority students on campus.
Thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. For everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Dan Toomey.
And I'm Sophia Boss. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.